the old adage was always the right place at the right time. But it seems like in Montreal radio especially, it's not the right place at the right time. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I guess that's the same in all industry, but in this industry, don't even dream that you'll find a well-paying or even a full-time radio gig unless you're really good friends with some of the management in the radio.
Sounds very discouraging.
Well, it is. It is. That's the problem when you have a monopoly. You have one company in town that owns 3 of the radio stations. There's only 5 English radio stations in town. So if you're not a French guy, you have 5 choices, and 3 of the 5 are one company. So basically, the other 2 are full of rejects from the first one, because people get into a fight with management, they get thrown out of the company. They have experience, other companies pick them up, the other stations pick them up, so they're filled with rejects from the first station. So unless you have something original to offer, or some kind of skill that nobody else has that you could offer to these other stations, there's no way that the 2 independent stations are going to offer you a job. And then if you burn your bridges with the major station, or major 3 stations, then really you're out of the radio business.
Let's talk a little bit more about that radio business, about your passions for it. Specifically, you said that you were interested in radio from the time you were a kid. Why? What is it about radio that attracts you?
You know what it is? Realistically, in my mind, the thing with radio is that it's all imagination. You're basically hearing a voice. And with television, you have the visual image to go with the sound. So you're getting that visual stimulation where you're understanding what's going on, and even if you're not hearing what they're saying, you're seeing what they're doing, so you understand the whole concept of what's going on. With radio, you have to be talented enough to create an image in someone's head. You have to be able to talk to people and be able to create that image so that they're there with you. It's not like you're talking to an audience. You're talking to an individual person when you're talking when you're hosting a radio show. You're not talking to an audience. I'm in your living room. I'm talking to you. And only certain people have that kind of talent to do that. I mean, you hear a lot of hacks on the radio who don't know how to hold an audience. And you hear a lot of people who hold an audience, they intrigue you, and suddenly 3 hours have gone by and you don't even realize you've been listening to the radio for 3 hours. It's that imagination. It's the grasp. It's the hold. I've always had a vivid imagination, and to be able to hear someone and try to imagine what they look like, and try to imagine their background, why they came up with this theory that they're coming out with, why they came up with this political angle, what caused them in their life to have this political angle, is the most intriguing thing in the world for me.
You're listening to Frank Talks Pleasures and Lifestyles, and we'll be back right after this.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the book, I'm a Man, That's My Job, The Philosophy of a Seducer. Your inner game is as unique and personal as your signature or your fingerprints. This book provides you with the means to create your own seduction persona. By this, learn what it means to be a man and attract the women you want. Learn about how men and women think differently and how to take the lead in a relationship. This book is for you at franktalks.com.
Guys, does your bachelor pad look as frightening as an Elvis convention? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. Do you own a twin bed and still love your Star Wars sheets? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. Is the only source of artificial light in your bachelor pad the bare, dusty bulb hanging from the ceiling? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. Do your friends walk into your apartment and think you have been robbed? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. Do you think that minimalist means barren as the Gobi Desert? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. If your bathroom is home to a colony of anything, then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. The Pimping Your Pad seminar and telephone consultations, only available at franktalks.com.
Frank Talks is making the world a better place by interviewing people on pleasures and lifestyles in order to inspire and educate listeners like you about the possibilities to lead more interesting and fulfilling lives. Be sure to visit our website at www.franktalks.com for the most up-to-date information and the latest downloads of programs just like the one you are listening to now.
You're listening to Frank Talks Pleasures and Lifestyles, and I'm Frank because I have to be. We're in studio today with Mr. Howie Silbiger, who is the proprietor of an internet radio station called True Talk Radio. Welcome back to studio, Mr. Silbiger.
Thank you.
Let's talk about True Talk Radio. What was the process for you to start your own internet radio station?
It was more frustration than anything else. It's actually kind of a funny story. I associate a lot with younger people, with a lot of teenagers. I used to work as a youth director in various institutions, and so I have a lot of dealings with teenagers, and I talked to a lot of teenagers. And one day I was online, and someone text messaged me and said, "Hey, I started up an internet radio station." At the time, I had no idea that these things even existed. And I said, "An internet radio station?" He says, "Yeah." He sent me a link, and he says, "Click on this link, and you'll hear my station." I clicked on a link. The guy's talking to me through the internet. I said, "That's really darn cool." So I probed him. I asked him, "Well, how did you do this?" And I questioned the kid, and the kid gave me all the information that he had on how he set up his radio station.
How old was this kid?
15.
15 years old, and he had his own internet radio station.
Yep. Yeah, he was running it. He had a friend who had a server. He owned a big company. He had a server, and he was letting him use a piece of his server, and he was running it. In fact, he was streaming at a rate where he could have had 300 listeners easy at any given time, 300 concurrent listeners at any given time, and he was doing it totally for free. If you're going to go buy that kind of bandwidth to host an internet radio station, it would cost you like $1,000 a month. And this 15-year-old kid was just hacking around with his friends and playing his music, so his friend, while he was doing his homework, could hear his music, because he had the CDs and he didn't want to copy them for his friend, so he was streaming them online for him. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but he basically implanted the idea in my head. And since promotions at the radio station I currently work for weren't very abundant and didn't seem to be coming my way, after 6 years I was still doing the same job I was doing when I started there, and same pay and same everything. I said, you know what, let's give this a shot. So I went and I created the True Talk Radio, and I got the website truetalkradio.com, and bought the software, and off I went. And it was just basically a learning curve from there. How to use the software, how to get to stream properly, how to schedule, how to get people to actually produce shows for the radio station. Even now, it's still hard to get people to produce shows because, I'm working on no budget. So, a lot of people want to get paid for it. But I'm saying, hey, I'm giving you the opportunity to get the experience to produce a radio show. That is worth more than actually getting paid, because you have a radio show that you're producing. It's being aired. There's a listenership that's listening to it. And it can only get better and better. And as you get better and better, you have more of a chance of actually getting into a mainstream radio station. So this is basically a training ground. And early on, I decided that that's what I would do with True Talk Radio. I'd make it a training ground for potential journalists, potential radio talk show hosts. Let them produce shows for True Talk Radio. I won't pay them for them, but I'll use them on the show, on the radio station. And in the meantime, they're getting the experience, and they're getting the exposure, and they're getting the privilege of saying, I had my show aired on this radio station. They could put on their CV that it was aired on this radio station. It's a real radio station. You want to hear it? Go click on this link, and there it is.
From the time you decided that you wanted your own internet radio station to the time that it was up and running, what are we looking at here?